The Cursed Herbs Call, The Spirit Beneath the Dark Well. Part 3, Death Beneath the Skylight. The rain grew heavier. Water poured through the open skylight, mixing with the thick metallic scent of blood rising from below. No one dared to speak. The men standing on the roof could only stare at one another, every face drained of color. Edward Carter was the first to regain his composure. "Quick, get down there." His voice trembled. Everyone rushed toward the backyard. As the door leading to the skylight courtyard swung open, an unnatural blast of icy air hit them in the face. The small courtyard beneath the skylight was swallowed in darkness. Only the shaky beams of several flashlights pierced the gloom. What they saw left everyone frozen. The burglar, Daniel Brooks, lay flat on the stone floor. A jagged sheet of torn metal had sliced deeply across his throat. Blood poured from the wound, mixing with the rainwater into a dark crimson stream. His eyes remained wide open, staring into the black sky above. But what terrified them even more was what lay beneath him. A homeless woman, Sarah Collins, lay on her side. One arm was still stretched outward, as though trying to shield her son. Little Noah was pinned beneath Daniel's body. His small blue shirt had turned almost entirely red. None of them moved. Edward stood motionless. His legs refused to obey him. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Only yesterday afternoon, Sarah had smiled while thanking him for letting them stay in the empty back room. Noah had spent the afternoon running around the courtyard, pushing a little red toy car with one missing wheel. And now, Edward collapsed onto his knees. "Oh, God," the words barely escaped his lips. One of the neighbors hurried off to call the police and an ambulance. But everyone already knew. It was far too late. It was nearly 1 o'clock in the morning. Bright emergency lights illuminated the entire lane. Residents crowded outside Edward's front gate, whispering among themselves. "I heard 3 people died." "No, only 2. The thief fell right on top of the mother and child. That poor little boy." The murmurs never stopped. Inside the yard, police officers had sealed off the scene. One officer approached Edward. "Are you the homeowner?" Edward nodded silently. "How long had the woman and her son been staying here?" "About 3 weeks." "Do they have any relatives?" Edward slowly shook his head. "I don't know. They only told me they'd come from another town. They said they had no family left." The officer wrote a few notes before letting out a quiet sigh. What happened tonight was a terrible tragedy. Edward said nothing. His eyes remained fixed on the skylight. The rain continued to pour. Water washed across the bricks, carrying away streaks of blood. Suddenly, he remembered something. The first night Sarah had arrived, she had quietly asked him, "Sir, does it get cold here at night?" Back then, he had smiled. "Not at all. The skylight keeps fresh air flowing through the house." She lowered her eyes. "That's good. Noah is afraid of the dark." The memory tightened around Edward's heart like a vice. Around 3 in the morning, the bodies had been taken away. The neighbors gradually returned home. The house became silent once again. Edward sat alone beside the skylight. The rain had finally stopped. The stillness was almost unbearable. Then clink, a faint sound, as though something had fallen into water. Edward jerked upright and pointed his flashlight toward the bottom of the well beneath the skylight. Nothing, only dark, motionless water. He was about to turn away when giggle, a child's laughter, soft, barely audible. Edward's entire body stiffened. The laughter came from below. Giggle. Giggle. His trembling hand aimed the flashlight downward again. Still nothing. Only darkness. A freezing wind swept through the courtyard. Then everything became silent again. He stood there for several long minutes. Finally, he convinced himself he was imagining things. He was exhausted. Anyone would be after what had happened. But as he turned to leave, he heard it. A tiny voice. "Mom." Edward spun around. No one. The skylight remained empty. Only droplets of water echoed from the darkness below. Cold sweat trickled down his back. For the first time in his life, he was afraid of his own home. By the following morning, news of the tragedy had spread throughout Blackwood. Curious residents gathered outside the house. Many left flowers and lit candles for the mother and her son. Around noon, an elderly lottery ticket seller stopped outside the gate. She stared at the skylight for a long time, then slowly shook her head. "This place is no longer at peace." Edward looked at her. "What do you mean?" She answered quietly. "Those who die unjustly, especially children, leave behind a very heavy sorrow." "Don't say things like that. I'm telling you what I saw." She met his eyes. "Last night, while I was walking past the entrance to the lane, I saw a little boy standing on your roof." Edward felt the blood drain from his face. But there wasn't anyone left. The old woman didn't answer. She simply sighed. "If you ever hear a child calling to you in the middle of the night, don't answer." Then she turned and walked away, leaving Edward standing alone in the courtyard. That night, Edward couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Noah's face. Close to midnight, he finally walked into the backyard to light incense. He planted 3 sticks into the burner. Suddenly, the wind began to rise. The flame inside the old oil lantern flickered wildly. Then it went out. The entire courtyard disappeared into darkness. At that exact moment, he heard footsteps. Thump, 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 as though someone were walking across the metal roof. Edward slowly looked up. His heart pounded violently. The footsteps stopped. Then a child's voice drifted down from above. "Mom." The weak cry stretched through the darkness. Edward took a step backward. Every hair on his body stood on end. Suddenly, something fell from the roof. Thud! An old toy car landed at his feet. It was bright red. One wheel was missing. It was Noah's favorite toy. Edward's head snapped upward. For the briefest instant, a small figure seemed to be standing on the roof. Then, it vanished. A freezing wind swept through the courtyard. From deep below the skylight, the water rippled gently. A whisper floated upward through the darkness. "I'm so cold." Edward's face turned pale. The burning incense slipped from his fingers, and for the first time, he realized the nightmare that had begun that rainy night was far from over.